Hello, all. I'm just here to inform you that all music sounds the same. This and this sound exactly the same. Once you hear one artist that makes music, you hear them all. See ya. Nah, I'm kidding. I'm obviously joking with the title and this bit that I just did. However, this is gonna be something different than what I normally do. Um, it's something that it's been on my chest for a bit. I wanna dive into the discussion about music sounds the same. You know how like you show your dad or like a song or like an album and he just complains about it sounds the same because he hears distorted guitars and or like electronics in two songs and all of a sudden it sounds the same or he thinks it sounds the same. I got inspired to do this video because of this video right here by Mad Mike. I'll link that video in the description. About how black metal is a cookie cutter genre, and it had me thinking. Um, and how it sounds the same. And it had me thinking. Well, couldn't this be applied to like you know any other genre that has a bunch of artists and bands and stuff? Um, I'm here to argue about that the sounding the same when it comes to band is not always a bad thing, as people think it is. And I'm here to prove that like the cookie cutter thing can be applied to basically any genre out there that's not just black metal or any genre of extreme music. Like this could be applied to rap, pop, reggaeton, jazz, rock, name any genre if you want. I am going to be talking about. I'm mostly gonna be like focusing on metal, of course, but also I'm gonna be talking about other genres of music to back up my point. Um, and how like the whole problem of like bands sounding the same to another. First, I want to identify what constitutes sounding the same to someone. Typically songs that have no distinct qualities or features between the two, like they seem identical. And but why? Why do you ask though? Some songs can have very similar riffs to each other. Some can have very similar beats, drum beats, synth lines, depending on what genre you're listening to, vocal melodies, and to another song that you've already heard or a band that you are a fan of. Um, in this and for the most casual listener, um, uh, they would come to the conclusion that the song or band or album sounds the same, sounds very similar to something they've heard before, and then therefore they just write it off and it's labeled as bad because it sounds the same as something they've heard before. So yeah, it's labeled as a bad thing because if a song is basically a copy and paste for a band or an album, for an entire album, like one song sounds the exact same for like 12 other tracks, then why bother listening? Why do you waste your time on something that isn't new and you've heard it before? So you just go and listen to something that's new. These are all things that the listener will have in their head, and they will make this conclusion that okay, well, this sounds the same. Why am I listening to it? There's no reason to listen to it. Another reason is that a song could be in the same key as another song, and so your average listener may not pick up on the fact that two songs are written in the same key, and both songs might like rely on the tonic, the root note of the song. It mostly depends if the song does depend on the tonic. And their brain will trick them into thinking like this is nothing new, but when in reality there's clearly differences like song structure, the riffs, the melodies, and all that. And basically, this is my argument. Bands sounding the same is not entirely a bad thing, but it has both its pros and cons. To start, I'm obviously gonna start with the cons. A lot of the same sound of the same sounding song can get very tiring after a while. It can get boring. It can get a chore. It can be a chore to listen to. And it's especially tiring when a band makes an album where each song has very little difference in like, you know, in character, or like the song has nothing that stands out from the others because it's just the same. I meant to say that the track doesn't have distinctive differences to make it different. In genres, I typically see a lot of this in like slam, thrash, some like pop and trap, and especially reggaeton. In the video, I'm basically going in circles with my point, but what I basically did is I basically named off the genres that I think have a higher chance of sounding samey from track to track in an album scenario. Reggaeton is often uses the same drum beat, which is like that type of drum beat, and so it's one of those genres that if you hear one song, you've heard them all. I'm not too familiar with reggaeton, but as a whole, but I know someone who is. But according to them, that is how it is. Here are some examples. I feel like if you were to point a finger at a genre being cookie cutter, or it would be reggaeton. What I'm about to say here is just in general. It has nothing to do with reggaeton. The album's tracks and the band that produced it can sound similar, but the tracks compared to another artist in that same genre can sound different. So there's a difference between bands sounding the same and songs in an album sounding the same. And another con is that sounding the same is that a band can start a trend that has become super successful, and a lot of already established artists pick up this trend so they can get some a glimpse of success from it. Imagine it like this is the stupidest comparison, but it works in this scenario. Imagine it like Fortnite. Since Fortnite got big, a lot of AAA games started having these battle passes, and implementing it into their games, and it's causing a lot of games to have like an identity crisis because they want to be Fortnite. They want to be that successful. Instead, they're now chasing like a trend that got popular. I won't name the band that I'm talking about, but the project that came out got super popular, and a lot of already established bands are starting to copy their style. A lot of fans I know really got tired of the trend, and they just avoided albums from artists they like that are basically copy paste, and new artists that are basically trying to chase this trend that got very popular. And here is where I start my argument for this, that sounding the same isn't inherently a bad thing. If someone likes a band or an artist and they want something similar to it, they will go and find some band or artist that plays the same style of the band they are already a fan of, and they will probably enjoy a style of the artist they discover, and perhaps they might even like the second band that they discovered more than the first. When people want more of that sound, they will go and look for something that sounds very similar to it. Not every single band or artist needs to sound very unique to be good. Not every album needs to be mind-blowing to be enjoyable. You can't tell me with a straight face that most rappers out there are unique. You cannot tell me that most pop stars out there are unique and they have their own unique sound. You can't tell me that every single artist brings something new to the table. Yeah, they're like outside of metal and all that, there will be a couple artists who experiment and start new trends. Yeah, but not every single group or artist needs to do that or reinvent the wheel. Something new and fresh is always neat, but there are millions of artists in every genre. You are not going to get you're not going to get a million unique sounds. That is just not possible with the amount of people making music. A lot of innovation, for instance, for like metal, it already took place in like the late 80s and throughout the 90s with a lot of experimentation in extreme metal. So nowadays, it's kind of hard to innovate. There are bands that worship legacy acts, and that is basically their entire purpose. Like Gruesome for Leprosy, Era Death, or Cinerea, if that's how you pronounce it, for like Sacramentum and Dissection. If people want more of a certain sound, there are bands that will supply that for their needs. Yeah, sure, you can go and listen to like, Leprosy a billion times, but sometimes you want sometimes you want the same flavor but a different popsicle. If two very good bands sound similar to each other, like Solitude Eternus and Candlemass, what really is the issue there? You're getting more of the sound you are already a fan of. One might have something you like more than the other, though they're even though they are from the same genre. Another example is Judas Iscariot, which is a United States black metal band, and Dark Throne. In the core of their sound, they are a very worshipy Transylvania Hunger by Dark Throne band with like the constant skank beats and tremolo riffs. However, they add a little atmosphere and light synths into their music. At its core, yes, it basically copies what Darkthrone does, but they don't need to. They don't need to change the sound. If they want to add things, they then sure. So yeah, I don't think like sounding the same from band to band is a bad thing. In fact, I think it's good that many do because this pushes like bands to create something out of their comfort zone if they don't want to be labeled as another insert genre artist. And if they want to honor their influences, then why not? So in my conclusion, it has its pros and it has its cons. I do think that it is a half and half like term sounding the same. It could be half bad, it could be half good. I personally think it's more bad when you're talking about an album and it's basically the song copied and pasted all the time. But when you have when you're comparing it to band, I personally don't think it is a bad thing. I don't believe that they need to have like their own sound to be good. There are billions of artists out there in all genres. So this doesn't just apply to metal. It applies to literally all of music, in my opinion. So when someone makes an argument like, "Oh, this entire genre sounds the same," yeah, like okay, sure, but is that really a bad thing? Are you expecting every single band to start a new sound to be completely pretend I say the word original here? Like face reality, okay? That is not going to happen in any genre of music. It could be classical, it could be jazz, it could be rock, it could be reggaeton, whatever. Not every single band is going to be unique, but I really applaud to the bands who do set out and be a highlight in a certain genre that they look like people are fans of and look up to. But I also applaud to the bands who supply the sound that other people are looking for because I think more the merrier. If a group of people likes a certain sound and they discover a band that has that sound that they've been looking for and they enjoy it, then what's the problem? Anyway, that was my I guess a video essay. I'm sorry if this was like scrambled or whatever. But it's something it's been on my mind and I needed to get off my chest. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you agree or disagree or think I brought up interesting points, then comment down below. So and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.